Hi everybody, it is Carolina here from the Oak Bluffs Public Library, and it's Saturday night at 5 o'clock. Actually, it's Saturday afternoon, we'll say. Saturday evening. And it is time for Cooking with Carolina. I'd like to thank the Library of Oak Bluffs Friends for sponsoring this program. And tonight we are making a very interesting dish. I'm really excited about cooking it. It sounds delicious and fascinating. So it's from the cookbook that I mentioned last week called In Bibi's Kitchen. I flipped the camera on this time so the book looks good, huh? So we have In Bibi's Kitchen by Hawa Hassan with Julie Turshen. And these are the recipes and stories of grandmothers from the 8 African countries that touch the Indian Ocean. And so the dish that I'm going to attempt tonight is called, hopefully I won't completely butcher this, it's called Digaag Qumbe. Digaag Qumbe, which is chicken stew with yogurt and coconut. And so this is made with bite-sized pieces of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. This stew is also incredibly quick cooking. Once you have everything ready, I think. There are some steps. Serve over cooked rice or on a bed of spinach. This is Hawa's preference. Something she mentioned when she got to share this recipe with Bon Appetit. Either way, serve it with bananas alongside for the most authentic Somali experience. The combination is not well known in the United States, but you can help it become known. It's great. So this is from Somalia. And so what we need to do to begin is to make a spice mixture. And the spice mixture is called hawash. It comes from the Arabic word hawaj, which is used to describe Yemeni spice blends. Hawash touches just about every Somali dish. It's like the gram masala of Somalia, and the mix of flavors is truly the flavor of the Indian Ocean. Each Somali home cook prepares hers differently. This is how Hawa prepares hers. She always makes a large batch, so she has it on hand to add to dishes as she cooks, adding layers of deep, warm flavors to everything from Digaag Qumbe, which is what we're making tonight, to ba'irs, I'm sure I did not say that one correctly, su'ugo sukoar, and Somali beef stew. That one's easy enough. You can also toss it on vegetables or chicken before roasting, or use it as a dry rub on any type of meat before grilling. And you can see the beautiful picture of the combinations. Hi, Mohammed. Okay, so we're gonna get started with this because we have to make that before we actually make the dish itself. So what we're going to do is take a 1-inch or 2-inch piece cinnamon stick. So I would say that's probably about 3 inches or so. We'll break off just a smidge. Okay. So we'll take that. Actually, we have to put this in a bag first. So we put this in a bag. A 1/2 cup of cumin seeds. Now this is where things get a little tricky because I don't actually have all the seed that I need. So I have ground cumin. We're improvising. So I'm going to take, actually I'm just going to use this bag because I'm going to use the whole thing of cumin. So it takes 1/2 cup of cumin seeds, which this is all I have of the cumin, we'll use it. Then 1/2 cup of coriander seeds. It is a big spice mixture. So 1/2 cup is quite a lot. Let me go grab my measuring cups. and my beet stick. Okay, so got all of them just in case. So a half a cup. Whew, that is a lot. I don't even know if this is going to be enough. Well, we'll just use what we have. So we'll put those in our bag. 2 tablespoons black peppercorn. Again, I do not have that much black peppercorn. I don't know if I can get the top off this. Let me see if I have a different format. I don't see a different way, so we're just going to go and grind a ton of pepper up in here. Unless this can open more. Locked down. Okay. So 2 tablespoons, that is a ton. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that much, but we'll do what we can. This will be our version of hawash. Alright, we'll go with that. I doubt that's nearly enough, but we'll work with it. Now, 6 cardamom pods. That I do have. Ooh. So, 1, 2, they smell good. 3, 4, actually, that's 5. 6. And jumped in. And 1 teaspoon whole cloves. I don't have whole cloves. Ooh, I just sold something. And so we're going to use these ground cloves. So 1 teaspoon whole cloves. We'll just put some in here. Ooh, smells good. And 2 tablespoons ground turmeric. Okay. Already looks pretty just in the bag. Okay, now we'll put this knife to the side, put these things to the side. Let some air up in there. Now we want to bang this a few times with the rolling pin to break up, especially that cinnamon stuff. Don't worry too much about breaking up the other stuff. Just get that cinnamon stuff. Always fun. Alright, so now we place all of this in a heavy skillet over medium heat. Now, I don't have a metal skillet, or a heavy metal skillet. I have my handy dandy Teflon pan. So, we're going to use that. Let me get a spurtle. If you're not familiar with spurtles, this is a spurtle. It's one of my favorite kitchen tools ever. Very useful. Can use it for so many different things. And we'll wait for this pan to get hot. You put it in dry. Let me move this just a little over. That's a little better. Okay. So we cook, stirring constantly until the smell is very aromatic and the spices are lightly toasted, about 2 minutes. I'm just going to put our whole mixture in there. Ooh, I smell it already. Oh boy. And it smells super good already. Ooh, super good. I am so excited about this. I love dishes with a lot of flavor. Oh, man. Okay. I may not have used the right percentage of all the different ingredients, but I think it's going to work just fine. So again, we're just over like medium heat here with all the spices and just keep moving them around. Just lightly toasting them. Bring out the flavor a little. So good. Alright, so that was about 2 minutes. And I can see that the spices, the color has darkened just a little bit. You can tell that they've toasted. And you can smell that it's a toasty kind of smell. So now that we've done this, we're going to let it cool just a minute while we get our spice grinder ready. So this is a coffee grinder that has been cleaned, so we can use it as a spice grinder. Of course, it still smells a little like coffee, but that'll be okay. More flavor. Okay, so we'll let this cool just a tiny bit. Shake some of that heat off. Shake it off. And you can actually see it continued to toast in the pan after we turned it off just a little. Still steamy. Try to get it just a little cooler. I think that's fine. Okay. Now, let's see. I'm going to figure out the best way to get this into the coffee grinder, aka spice grinder. And I think it's just going to be slowly and carefully transferring it in there. a musical dish too. Those are always the best. Ooh. Okay, so now we have it all in our spice grinder. We did a pretty good job getting it in there without spilling. And now what we're going to do is grind it into a fine powder. Now, if you don't have a spice grinder, you can also use a mortar and pestle, which I have somewhere here, but I don't see it around. But we're going to use the spice grinder. So, here we go. Tap it down every few grinding seconds. Okay, so now we have this, which is hopefully a nice finely ground paste. So what it says to do now is to transfer the ground spice to a fine mesh sieve set over a bowl and sift. Now, see if I have a fine mesh sieve. I actually think I do. Okay, so I didn't think this step would actually be necessary, but now looking at the grind here, I'm not sure if you guys can really see that. You can probably see it well enough. There are a few bigger pieces left in here, which is what we want to get rid of. So I'm going to sift it, sift it through here. So I guess you really want this to be able to make a fine paste. Ooh, wow, it smells so good. I feel like this might need a little helping along, however. As I mentioned, it's a process. So you can see we're getting some really fine powderiness here. I'm glad I didn't use my finer mesh. Now, you know, this probably would not be so arduous if I had the whole spices instead of having to use some powdered. So I'm going to dump that back in there for now. And let's see. 2 tablespoons. Okay, we have the 2 tablespoons we need excuse me, for our recipe. So I'll finish with the rest of that later, so you don't have to sit and watch me sift. Okay, so now we're on to phase 2 of this recipe, which is actually starting the Digaag Qumbe. So let's resituate here. Do a little switcheroo back over this way. Seems to work. Okay, now we need our blender, is what we're getting out next. So bring your blender front and center. And now what we're going to put into here is, there we go, is 2 medium tomatoes coarsely chopped. Now, I have some grape tomatoes, so we're going to use those. Tomato, right? Okay, so 2 medium, alrighty. So we'll just get what we think is about 2 medium. There's 1 medium. Woohoo! Ah, there we go. 2 medium. Now, 1 jalapeno, stemmed and coarsely chopped. I don't have a fresh jalapeno, but I am all about using these pickled jalapenos and things, and so I'm going with it. This is what I've been doing for my recipes, and it's been turning out so good that I'm just gonna keep rolling with that. So you can make this, you can leave out the jalapeno if you want, and you can adjust it for your desired spice level. I better not get too crazy. There we go. Now, a red bell pepper. I'm gonna go rinse it off. And so stemmed, seeded, of course. Now, of course, I'm already stained with the turmeric. It is very staining. Okay, so we can just roughly cut that up a little before we put it into the blender. Now, 1 tablespoon tomato paste. I have my handy dandy tomato paste in a tube, which I love. And here is my okay, 1 tablespoon. If anybody recognized that, you get 10 points. And now half a cup of plain yogurt. So This is a 1/4 cup measure. The 2 tablespoons of mixture here. So 2 tablespoons of our hawash mixture. And some salt, about 2 teaspoons of salt. There's 1. There is 2. All right, let me just adjust ever so slightly. Move this over, and now we are going to puree this until smooth. Usually I wear my headphones, but they're missing. Ear protection, very important. You can use your trusty spurtle. Now, don't do this when the blade's still going. I've done that before. Your stuff down so it all gets blended in. I'm gonna kick it into high gear. Slow blend we got going here. Get that mixture down in there. Now we're stir around, make sure that it's all blended nicely. And so now it's quite liquidy. I would say it's more liquidy than a paste. I'm gonna give it just one more spin around. Okay, now we're going to set this mixture aside. And get back into chopping mode here. Okay. Now we are going to chop up some onion. We need 1 large red onion finely chopped. I have 2 small red onions we will finely chop. Then 2 large garlic cloves, minced. These are definitely nice large cloves. Okay, we have our 2 large cloves and then 1 tablespoon of minced ginger. I'm going to grab a spoon to do the trick for the ginger. Okay, so let's get chopping, and we also want to get a Dutch oven, a large, heavy, if you have a cast iron pot, you can use that. This is a trusty Majestic cookware classic pot. I really love to use this for certain things. It's aluminum though, so it does get pretty hot pretty quickly. Do have to keep that in mind. Okay, so we'll chop up our onion. I think this is like a random combination of onions that I got from the CSA share, the farm share. Because this is a white onion. So we'll use a white and a red. Alright, there's a fairly finely chopped white. This is a nice red. perfect. And now that you have your initial chop here, we'll go in and kind of get it a little finer chop. Now you could think that you could use a food processor to do this, which if you want, you can. I think that food processors make it almost too small. I don't think they can do such a refined chop. They make more of an instant onion paste. So I do prefer to do the hand chop. Okay, so we are good there. Grab a little bowl. Put this in. Okay, now we'll do our garlic. I was just thinking back to when I used to live in California. Pardon me. There we go. I used to live in California and I worked at a vegetarian restaurant as one of my first jobs when I moved there when I was in my early 20s. And I love chopping garlic. It was one of my favorite things to do. And the chef there was so impressed by my garlic mincing skills that he presented me with my own knife, which was a great honor. And I still have that knife today. It is not this one, it's a larger size. But it was very exciting. Because you know all the best chefs bring their own knives to the kitchen for cooking. Okay, that is a nice mince there. Put that in the bowl with the onion. And now we have our ginger. So for ginger, 1 tablespoon. So let's see. I'm just going to cut off what I think will be about 1 tablespoon. And the trick is to use the spoon to scrape off the ginger skin. And it does a great job removing just the skin without totally ruining the ginger. It's always a little hard to get all up in the knobs. Okay. Pretty good, pretty good. So I think this will be about a tablespoon. Ginger is so fibrous. It can make it very hard to grate or to cut for that matter. Like that. Okay, now we'll mince this up. Definitely getting a wrist workout with this one. Okay, so that actually looks like it made a bit more than a tablespoon, but I guess that depends on how finely you mince. We'll just put it all in there. I like ginger. Okay, so now what we will do is to heat up some oil, some olive oil, about a 1/4 cup of olive oil. In our big Dutch oven. And let's shift us over here just a smidge. And now we'll heat this up. Get our oil hot. Over medium heat. And then once this is hot, we'll put in our mixture. And next we'll be preparing our veggies. So some carrots. So I'm doing 3 nice sized carrots here and 1 baking potato. I'd say this is probably about good. You'll want your spurtle. Reuse that bowl again for your next set of veggies. We'll cook this in the Dutch oven for about 5 minutes, stirring it occasionally. Now we'll prepare the vegetables. Kind of loosely peel your carrots if you like, or peel them fully, or don't peel them at all. Whatever you prefer. Now this way of peeling the carrots that I'm using is a technique that I learned in Morocco, where you don't often have that many different kitchen tools to do what you're going to do. So you can just use the side of your knife to peel. And that works just fine. Was a special guest appearance by Dexter Cooney.
Ooh, that looks yummy, Mom. What's you making?
So far.
Oh, you're making this thing I saw.
Yeah, I am.
Yum, yum.
It's called Digaag Qumbe. Okay, so let's get our carrots. We're going to cut these into thin coins. And then the baking potato we are going to cut into bite-sized pieces. give a little bit. Again, here you can peel if you want. I am not going to. The recipe itself does not instruct one way or the other when it comes to peeling. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut the potato in half, and then I'm going to quarter it from there. And I'll take that half, and I'll cut those quarters in half again. Then I'll pause, give this a stir. Just a little. And then I'll chop these into sort of half-inch cubes. Bowl is just big enough. Okay, now that we have done that, we need to cut our chicken into bite-sized pieces also. So now that we've cut up all the vegetables we need to, we can go ahead and cut the chicken on the same cutting board. Because this is the last thing we'll be using it for. So these are boneless, skinless chicken thighs that we're using. About a pound. Give yourself a stir. All right, bite-sized pieces here. You can trim any fat that you like also. Definitely want a nice, sharp knife for this. So I'm going to cut these into pieces that are just a bit bigger than the potato. But, you know, kind of along the same lines. Okay, so now we'll take a little pause there. Because for this, we want to go ahead and put that wonderful mixture that we made in with the onion, ginger, and garlic mix. And we're going to bring this to a boil. Always be careful when you're cooking things with tomatoes because they get real spitty. And then it's come to a boil, we're going to turn it down to low and we're going to cook it for about 10 minutes. until very fragrant. It seems to be a theme with this dish. All right. Now back to the chicken. And I'm guessing if you didn't like chicken thighs, you could use chicken breast, but the chicken thighs probably have a bit more flavor. And also stay a bit moister because they have more fat. Okay, so our chicken is chopped. You can trim off any excess fattiness that you might find with a sharp knife. I don't think it's too bad though. I think that's fine. And then we will go ahead and, let's see, this cooks for about 10 minutes. So we're going to wash up. And then we will check in on this and stir it. Have a look at how it's doing. Ooh. Smells very good. We have about 5 minutes to go on this cooking of the sauce. So we can prepare and kind of shift what we have going on here. There's still a few things to add in. So we're going to want to have some coconut milk, some unsweetened coconut milk, full fat. So you can go ahead and get your can opener ready for that and open it up. Alright, so we're ready there with our coconut milk. Got just a few minutes left over on our sauce. We'll put a few things away. Make the cleanup a little easier. And you can definitely smell it getting quite fragrant. And you're done with all your measuring tools and things. You're pretty much to the final phase here of the dish. Pretty much. This one has a lot of steps. Although they're not too hard. I will say the hardest thing I have made so far was that Eggs Benedict. That was tough. That was a challenge. But it turned out really yummy. And actually with the leftover hollandaise sauce, I made poor man's Eggs Benedict, where I took the hollandaise sauce, I poached an egg, I made some English muffins, and I made like an English muffin sandwich using the hollandaise sauce and the poached egg. And then I put some spinach and kale on there. It's really quite good. Good use for the leftover. You could also make asparagus to use the leftover hollandaise. Okay, let's see how we're doing. Give it a stir. So I would say we are good enough here to put in our potatoes and carrots. Our chicken. And our coconut milk. And we'll stir this all together. Get a little hot pad. These handles get quite hot. Carefully. Now it really doesn't give a specific temperature that we want to cook this at. But now that we've stirred it all together, so now we'll bring it to a boil. I am hungry. All this cooking's made me hungry. Okay, so once this comes to a boil, we're going to cover the pot, and then we will be cooking it, uncovering it occasionally just for stirring. When the camera's backwards, it gets confusing about where you're supposed to stand. Now, we will cook it for about 30 minutes until the chicken is cooked through thoroughly. And then we will season it with salt to taste. Then, this is the kicker part right here. So, serve hot. sprinkled with the cilantro, so we're going to chop up a little cilantro over there, over cooked rice or spinach, with the bananas alongside. So if you missed the beginning, this is served with a banana on the side. So don't slice the bananas, just serve them whole and take a bite as you eat the stew. So that is exactly what we'll be doing. We're going to cook this for about 30 minutes and then we will eat it up. So I will post a picture and a little review when it's all done. And thank you very much for joining me. I will be here again next week at 5 o'clock for Cooking with Carolina Live. And have a good night. Bon appetit.